Hey, everybody. What's everyone excited about learning from the master today? Oh, man. Michael Perna, we did a lot of good webinars together. Remember our script offs? Those were so
Oh my
fun.
gosh, those were so much fun. We've got to do more script offs.
They literally helped me get through the pandemic.
They were fun and they were funny. And that one with Richard Schulman was a
Oh,
blast.
we
It
need
was
to
so
do
much
that.
fun. Yeah.
Those were so much fun. Yeah. Was anyone here in any of those script offs that we did when we were doing our Wednesday webinars? Oh, it's noon. We probably should actually start.
And if you were here, tell them who the winner was, like for real.
Who was the winner? I don't even remember.
And Michael will then Venmo you $20.
I don't even remember who the winner was. Oh, Denise. You're going to make his head blow up.
Yeah. Denise is definitely my friend.
I know.
Absolutely.
Denise is such a great supporter. Beautiful woman.
Well, everyone.
Salem. Where else do we have? Deldy. Hi, Deldy.
Shout out to Janelle. Janelle, thanks for being here.
And
Let's go ahead and get started. What do you think?
Carl
Let's do it.
Medford, Brian Messick. This is a good group. It's a good group. Michael Print, Christy Sundquist. Christy Sundquist is, I think, went to every single one of the Wednesday webinars. All right, I'll stop talking. Go ahead and get started.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome to our Power Playbooks webinar. Every Wednesday, Vija and I aim to deliver amazing interviews with industry experts that are, you know what, they're super powerful with their strengths and what they do, but they're so down to earth and they share their playbooks and all their secrets with us. So we want you to walk away with tactical information that you can use in your business today. So it's every Wednesday at noon Pacific time. And mark your calendar. And if you register for all of them, you will get replays for all of it as well. So very, very excited to have you. And we're just getting going. And we are very open for suggestions. So if you can email us at powerplaybooks@place.com for speaker suggestions, as well as to register and make sure you're on our list for all the great things we have going on. And with that, I'm going to turn it over. Yeah, topic ideas for sure. And with that, I'll turn it over to Vija, who's going to introduce to you our guest.
Yeah, thanks. And just to add to that, you know, I am seeing a lot of my regulars. Thank you. And would you guys help us spread the word that we're back? You know, I just think that we're just getting rolling again, and people got out of the habit of joining us on Wednesdays. And there's a couple hundred people who were like religiously here. And so be sure to let everybody know we're back. It'd make me really happy to see you putting this on your social media. If you do and you tag Power Playbooks Place and we see it, maybe we'll send you a gift or something. I just made that up. We have no budget, but I will send you something. I just made that up. Abby, our marketing
She will send you a smile.
She's literally probably texting me and I can't see it right now.
You're
She's
completely
like,
being booted from this webinar.
Stop it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Abby Powell just had the best idea. I just started a contest. If you tag us at Power Playbooks webinar, #power, and you do some kind of promotion, we will give you a Built How ticket, which is worth like $800, $500. I don't know how much. Built How is the best event in real estate. Michael Perna, that includes you.
I'm tagging.
It's
like, I want the free ticket.
I'm saying that. I know. So Power Playbooks webinar, and we just created a contest on the spot. All right. So Michael Perna, I do want to introduce you and edify you because you are an amazing human, and I say human on purpose. For all of you guys who haven't had the pleasure to know Michael Perna, he's turned into one of my very close friends over the last, year or two. And he is a really, truly incredible human, as well as an incredible business owner. And by the way, I find they often go hand in hand, but they don't always go hand in hand, right? You can sometimes have great business owners who aren't awesome humans. So he's in Detroit, Michigan, actually just suburbs mainly, right, Michael?
Mm-hmm. Mostly suburbs.
Mostly suburbs, yeah. And I'm going to give some stats because, again, I just want everybody to kind of understand the context and the perspective that you come from and that you're going to talk to about today. From 20 to 2020, well, actually from 20 to 2022. So in that 2-year period, you grew from a team of 20 agents to 100 agents. Okay. You went from 4 million in GCI to 7.6 million in GCI last year. You went from doing about 412 units a year, which in and of itself is amazing, to 967 units last year. Kind of surprised you didn't buy 33 homes, but that's a topic for another time. And then this year you're on track to do 1,250 units. You currently have about 130 agents, and you're going to end the year at somewhere around 180 to 200 agents. It's unbelievable stats. And what we're going to talk about today, and really the theme that I want everybody to walk away is, we're going to walk through how you systematically and methodically recruit. And I'm using those words on purpose, everybody. Michael Perna doesn't recruit like this and then get everyone into productivity and then go whatever. It's steady Eddie. It's woven into their day, week, month, and quarter. But Michael Perna, what I also want to focus on is how you get those agents selling homes, which is the other amazing part of the story, is that you have a really good high agent productivity. So that's what we're going to do today. Welcome.
I love it.
Perfect. Well, let's jump in. So Vija just gave some great stats on the last couple of years and your amazing growth and trajectory. And we know it wasn't always like this, right? A couple of years ago in 2020, you only had 20 agents. Tell us a little bit more, just so we have some context about your team today. What are, how many staff positions do you have? What leadership and operations roles do you have that support your agent count? And exactly how many agents do you have today?
No, absolutely, sure. And one thing I want to do is I'll go back in time a little bit. So I hovered between, let's call it 16 and 22 agents for close to a decade. I mean, and I see Charlotte's on the line here, and her and I coached a little bit together, and she probably remembers that and remembers those days. And for me, I had to kind of shift around my thinking around recruiting, if that makes sense. I had to shift. I shifted the line of where the recruiting process takes place from the interview itself to the training and getting them into production and getting them to do the activities. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. So for a very long time, I was one-off recruiting, one agent a quarter, basically replacing whatever it was that I was losing. And it wasn't fast enough. The growth wasn't fast enough. And during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to kind of take a step back and then reconsider, can I really pick who's going to be a rock star agent or who's not? Right. And the answer was no. I had zero idea. I mean, there were some people on there there were some people that I had interviewed that went on and did great things. There were some people that I thought would not do anything. There were some people that I interviewed and I thought they'd be rock stars, and they just never showed up. They may have walked in the door, but they never actually showed up to do the activities. So in today's world, we've moved that measuring stick to say, okay, we're going to take as many people on as we can. So I had to redo all of my systems around training, which I'll talk about, around onboarding, around being able to bring on a high level of people as efficiently as possible and without that high level of cost, if that makes sense. And then use the treadmill test to kind of run them off. Right? Use the activities to see, okay, in the first 2 weeks, are these guys going to show up big or are they not? So we've kind of created a couple of positions around that. So my current staff looks like, going back to your question, Sarita, I have a director of sales, and that's Austin. He works with all of my agents past the 6-month mark. Okay. So once you're in what we kind of call general population, that's all Austin. And it's his job to keep these guys motivated and in production and and right now, especially keeping their spirits high, because we have a ton of multiple offer situations and less inventory than we've ever seen, even in 2020 or 2021. Motivation itself has become a big part of this. I've got Sadie, who's our director of training, and she does all of the training programming for the team, all of it, right? So from the new agents to existing agent courses to what we call Perna Team University and enlisting agents on the team currently to help us run that, our launch coach, and then also our accountability coach. So she runs those positions. And then we've got Charity, which is our director of operations. She handles all the back end operations, the transaction coordination, the marketing, all of that, if you will. Now, where the secret sauce kind of came in for us is, as we've gotten bigger, we've been able to build out additional positions within each department. So Sadie right now has a launch coach, Wendy, who's amazing. She's been with me for about 5 years now, a little more, 6 years now. Wendy was selling 40 to 60 homes per year herself. And then she really loves the teaching and the giving back. And she was a teacher in her previous life before she got into real estate. So that was a really nice fit, right? We have what we call Hotline Bling, um, which is after the Drake song. I did not name that. Like, if anybody knows the
Oh, of course
reference,
it's after the, I mean, yeah,
of course it is. Yeah, if anybody knows the reference, go ahead and put that in there. Tell everybody else what it means. I'm not going to.
such a great song.
It is a great song.
Really great.
So we have 3 agents on a quarterly kind of rotating schedule, so to speak, that they run a 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. call line. So any of our agents that need any help, like, and especially the new guys, right, just writing an addendum, or they're getting stuck with a negotiation, or a deal's falling apart and they need a veteran agent. One of our veteran agents, somebody that's been with us for 4 years or more, literally mans that line from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on a shift schedule. And then each one of them has a weekend a month, right? And it's been critical. It gives these guys a little extra income, gives them some responsibility, brings them into leadership, helps them give back, which they really enjoy. So that, am I missing anybody? So that's our leadership team.
Well, but really quick though, I want to go back to that a little bit because I want to count in my head, how many full-time leaders is it taking you to run your kind of onboarding launch, I guess agent productivity department, for lack of a better word?
You bet. So I've got one full-time recruiter. I have a part-time person that helps her out, like an assistant, almost like organizing.
So 1.5 for recruiting.
Yeah, 1.5 for recruiting. And then I've got one full person that their entire life is just launch. That's it.
Okay,
She's still
full-time for launch,
but full-time launch. Yep. And then that is literally.
What about ongoing productivity after launch?
Ongoing productivity, we have Jeff, who's our productivity coach. And again, same thing, where that's a full-time position. And his job is really dialing into our Zillow leads and our ISA appointments and helping these guys convert it at a higher level. Like, and that's the only metric that he's focused on, is the conversion rate of Zillow and ISA appointments. So he's bonused on that.
So, admittedly, to all of our smaller teams watching and listening, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries. And so I just kind of want to reiterate, you started this at 16 to 20, which might even sound big for some people listening, but you didn't hit this overnight. And so I think the first thing to talk about is this is a full department, because at Place, we have a really robust launch. We have 600 employees at Place. And we have a department basically running agent productivity and launch like a big department. And so I think the first thing that we should just kind of caveat, Michael and Sarita, is just that this is, you can take elements of this in a small team too. You can take chunks of people's time, because this is you have a large business now.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say, and to your point, like all of these positions started effectively with just me.
Exactly.
And then as it grew, I was able to split out some of it, then continually to split it out and split it down. So it's not that the plates themselves got smaller. The plates themselves have been the same size, but as we've gotten bigger and each small responsibility became bigger responsibilities, we were able to produce the income needed to hire a specific person into that role. So at one point in time, like, Sadie was everything for training and everything for accountability, and that was it, right? And then the plate just got too big, and so we were able to bring Wendy on. And Wendy, I do see that you are on the Zoom. Thank you very much for that. Please feel free to throw into the chat anything I get wrong, which is probably going to be a lot of stuff. Probably a lot of stuff for sure. But to your point,
Michael,
time to build those out. Yeah.
Can you also comment on the non-productivity admin, like just TCs, coordinators, like how many other staff do you have? And maybe how many did you have when you had 16 to 22 versus now?
Yeah. So when we had 16 to 22, I had one listing coordinator and one closing coordinator. In today's world, I've got 4 closing coordinators and 1 dedicated listing coordinator. We still have those roles split, so the listing coordinator doesn't handle the listing closings per se. And then I have a part-time person. I have a full-time person that helps with marketing as far as getting our videos up, like our YouTube videos, our Instagram videos, our TikTok videos, all of that. Does our graphic design work and marketing. The guy he's a workhorse. Derek crushes. We have a host of virtual assistants, around 15 of them in the back end, that move a lot of data around, leads around, making sure that our reports are being run. And then I've got a part-time person whose almost full-time job now is both getting our reviews, which I'm very proud of, and then also monitoring outbound referrals, because we do a lot of outbound referrals and inbound referrals. So when we receive a referral into the team, that referring agent gets an update every single Friday, right from the day it comes in all the way to the day it close. So she's grinding on our agents to make sure that they're providing the update, and then she's ensuring that update gets back out to that co-op agent. So whoever does that refer to us, they're not just like lost for months on end.
Hey, Michael,
And then-
someone asked
yeah.
a question that I think this is a good time to insert, and they were asking, what do you recommend for teams starting out? I'm going to caveat that.
Yeah.
What I really want to go back to is when you were starting that build, you started out just as yourself. How did you make each hiring decision along the way? Was it a revenue, decision, a pipeline decision, a money in the bank decision? Did you take away from your own profit margin to hire for growth, or did you have strict rules to not do that? I'd love to hear your framework for how you make those decisions.
No, and that's a great question. So it's a little of all the above. So in the beginning, it was easier to make the hiring decisions based on just pure need. But now later on, I'm almost leading with an expense to bring the revenue back later, right? Like I knew that, like, for example, bringing Wendy on and bringing the additional salary on, like that's not a right away thing, because it takes agents anywhere between 4 and 6 months to really get up and fully producing. So anybody that Wendy started with, the revenue wouldn't be coming back for 3 months in production, but really 4 to 6 to get into full swing. But so I had to be confident that the revenue would come back, right? So there was a little bit of more of an upfront cost on profit, like drag on profit. But I was okay with that, because if we didn't, I mean, honestly, we were all getting burned out because we were all trying to do all the jobs.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Sarita. I just wanted to drill down on it a little bit.
No, I'm definitely hearing an organic growth of like, you were pretty flat and then you're like, we're going to grow. And then your focus became, as more and more tasks came to point, based on buckets of recruiting, attraction, essentially, and then retaining them and getting them into productivity fairly quickly using systems and frameworks that you have that you had people responsible for in terms of delivering and monitoring. And then you inspect what you expect also with regards to the pillars of the business, just things like reviews and customer satisfaction and all those things. I mean, everything that became repeatable became a job. Let's focus. I think a lot of us want to hear, like, you have a hockey stick of growth, right? Where you were flat and then you're like, okay, I'm going to build out a big team. And you had essentially a systematic recruiting process. I know V and I were talking about this prior. We'd love to hear kind of step by step. What does that system look like? How do you get all of these agents to join you? And more important, we can all get people who have a pulse, right, and can breathe. How do you get the agents you want to join you that that are going to be successful?
Okay, everybody, get out your notebooks, because I know this is where you want to start taking notes. He's going to walk you through the playbook.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, like right before the pandemic, I started to have my mindset shift around recruiting to the point of like I was trying for the quality, but I could not always tell who the quality was. I finally just had a shift one day and said, well, what if that's not actually where I hire? What if I hire 2 weeks after I hire? Right? What if I give everybody the opportunity, or as many people that can the opportunity, bring them into the organization and then run them out with activity, right? And to be fair, 7 out of 10 people that we bring into the organization are not with us a month later. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. And you got to be okay with that. And you got to.
So your hiring process is an audition. It's an audition and a filtering process, really.
Yeah.
And they're interviewing the first couple of weeks, basically, is what you're saying.
And that's it. So then I said, okay, if we're going to do it like that, then I've got to make the top of the funnel as wide as possible. So right now we're spending around $2,000 a month on Indeed, right? And we have got a series of Indeed ads. They're all basically some sort of the same thing. 2 basic ones are, we've got a real estate scholarship. We'll help you go get your real estate license if you want to get into the business. And we have too many leads. I've got too many Zillow leads. I've got all of this inflow and I need good people to help us with it. And then the rest of the Indeed ad, which I've just actually retooled and works even better, is just our core values, right? Okay. So we are looking for people that are cannonball kids. They're not afraid to tiptoe around the pool. They jump right in. We're looking for people that are no jerks. We have a strict no jerk policy for both the people within the organization, and the people we serve, our customers. All of those core values are right in there. And then at the end, it's, if you feel this speaks to you, reach out and apply. So we're getting around 50 to 75 applications per month through that.
Okay.
Now, from that point, we put them on a Zoom. And that Zoom happens every Wednesday and every Friday. And that one's put on by my director of sales, Austin, right? So Lori, our recruiter, brings them into the Zoom. Rachel, her assistant, brings them into the Zoom. And then they literally have to sit there and see what the culture of the team is.
Got it.
Dara, that is a great question. More to come.
I like that answer. I was wondering how he was going to answer that.
Okay. I figured I just hit the nail on the head with that one. So we bring them onto the Zoom. So the first 15 minutes, and anybody that wants to scope out the Zoom, please don't hesitate to let me know. Like, we can get you on it to see what it looks like.
I woke up at the ungodly hour of like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Seattle time to be on that Zoom.
Yes, that's the truth. Actually,
Michael, can you also share those Indeed ads, or like we can just Google it probably, right? It's
yeah.
Michael.
Actually, if you go on Indeed and put like Metro Detroit real estate or do Novi Michigan real estate, you'll see them come up.
Okay, perfect.
So then we bring them onto a Zoom. The first 15 minutes is with the team. It's our daily huddle or daily power up. We had started those during the pandemic, and we just never let go of them because people like them and because it's a really great motivator and mindset piece. But then they stay on afterwards, and we answer every single question that they possibly can think of about real estate. It's a mix. 2/3 of them are not licensed at the moment. 1/3 of them are, probably a little less than 1/3. And then from there, we do individual phone calls. By the end of that, the individual phone calls that get them brought on are usually between 6 and 15 minutes. Like, that's it, because we really go deep with the questions. And part of the way that we start that is, hey guys, we got you in a group interview because we wanted you to see the culture of the team, right? That's super important to us. And if it doesn't feel right, that's okay. No harm, no foul. And then second, we want to make sure that we're answering everybody's questions, and all of us are better than any of us. And we got to be sure that we're going to answer the question the same way for everybody. So we may as well just do it all together, right? And a lot of people have it and have basically the same questions. Is it a commission job? Where do you get your leads? What's the required office time? What does the training look like? What does the broker look like? Like, all of those just normal, same questions. And if they don't ask about any of those things, we have a list of 8 or 10 things that we make sure that we go back and cover should somebody have not asked the question, right? Now at that point in time, if they have to get a license, then we help them enroll for their real estate licensing. And then from there, they're required to be on a Thursday Zoom every Thursday at noon as a check-in. How far are you with your license? And that's really actually upped our conversion rate, because we would find that a lot of people would start the license, then just kind of trail off. But even just that one Thursday thing doubled the number of people that were just getting their license done, right? People get busy, especially nowadays. Most people want to do the online licensing class. It doesn't mean that they're going to stick with it and finish it. Right?
Interesting. Okay.
And then once there, then we do 2 launch classes per month, max of 10 people.
Okay.
And we found that any more than 10, and it really just bogs Wendy down, and then her time is just spread way too thin, and she's not getting the quality time with the agents. So she's in there teaching them things like LP Mama, how to sign a buyer agency agreement, the buyer presentation, all of those things. And then she gives them 100 leads out of our pond. And then during that week, they've got to call, text, and email all 100 every single day. Which is going to do 2 things. One is going to get them business fast. You can't call and text and email 100 people 5 times and not get business out of it. And 2, half the people are going to wake up and say, nope, this is not for me. And we are a prospecting based team. Like, if we're not doing the dials, we're not making money. Simple enough. Right. And then from there, we do what's called, and then at the end of that 2 weeks, if they're through that, and please, Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong, something probably changed that nobody told me about, and that's cool. I'm okay with that answer. And then from there, we do 3-3-3. So we give them 3 ISA appointments 3 weeks in a row. And when those are like the goal, those are our Zillow leads, those are our sign calls, those are our low end of the funnel leads, so to speak, right? They're the right now business. And part of the intention is to get them moving fast. See that, guys? I'm doing great.
You got a thumbs up.
Wendy said you're doing great.
I love that. Thank you, Wendy. Part of part of the intention is to get them into business fast by giving them 9 set ISA appointments. And then part of it is Wendy sticks with them right through all 9 and then keeps monitoring the conversations, monitors the recordings, monitors the texting, make sure the follow-up's getting done in appropriate fashion, because you know how it goes, right? I'll just keep following up tomorrow. I'll follow up tomorrow. Wait, I don't want to call them too much. I don't want to text them too much, all of those things. And then from there, they get released into general population with Austin.
Okay.
That was probably a lot of information. I'm sorry.
That was really, really good information. But we did go through 2 things, because we started off with your recruiting process and then we went into launch. So, you know, in your recruiting process, so you're basically saying 2,000 a month on Indeed is yielding you 50 to 75 applicants a month. Through that process, if I'm doing my math right, you're getting 20 gross recruits a month?
10 to 15.
10 to 15 gross recruits a month, and then your net might be what, 3, 4, 5 at the end of it? What would a net be?
Yeah,
at
5
the
to
end of
7.
5 to 7. So you're going from maybe 15 to 5, or, you know, somewhere around there, 15 to 7, 10 to 5, somewhere around there. That's actually pretty good.
And I like that you have the 2 classes a month. I mean, you create a little bit of, you know,
Scarcity.
FOMO in that if your class is full, then hey, we can't get you on this one, but you're invited for our next launch or the launch after that, because she knows her limit of 10, and you don't want it to be like, oh, I have 43 people, they can all start tomorrow. You're creating a bit of a making them want it to.
See, I would love to start 43 people at one time. And Wendy, if you give me the thumbs up on that one, like
He's going to say no. He's giving you a thumbs down on that right now. So what, can you walk us through a little bit about launch with Wendy? And Wendy, if you want us to pull you on, we can pull, I don't know how to do that. Am I offering something I can't do? But if we can pull Wendy on, she could even talk about it. Let me see if I can be fancy and do this.
And while you're working on that, I'll say our second source, and we gotta get a little better at this, but has been yielding really good results, are the licensing lists. So most states will sell you the licensing list, whoever got licensed that last month. Ours in Michigan, and I think 15 or 16 states outsource licensing to a company called SPI. And every state is a little bit different. I think in Texas, you just go straight to the real estate commission to get this list, but it's $99 a month. And every month I get an email with the names and actual physical addresses, which is kind of weird, for all of the people that got a real estate license. From there, I have a virtual assistant go through and backtrack through white pages and MLS to find their actual phone numbers, right? And eventually they all pop up on the MLS, so I get them. And just like anybody else, right? The biggest opportunity for a brokerage or a team switch is in the first 120 days of being licensed. People will switch. Like it's just a thing. So we want to be in a place where we're their second choice, because they've already made a first choice. Like chances are, if somebody got their license this month, let's say, May 15th or May 17th, right? And they're starting out, I won't know about them being licensed until the first week of June is when I get that data. They've already made a choice as to where to go.
Same with us in Washington. We don't get it until they're licensed either.
Yeah. And over 50% of them will make a switch in the first 90 days. At least in our area, that's the number. So we want
just like speed to lead, it's speed to license, right?
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt, but
so they make the wrong decision 50% of the time.
Yep. So if we don't get them, if they didn't come through our Indeed trap or our Craigslist ads or any of those, and then they go out to ABC Realty, I want to be their second choice 90 days down the road. So we try to stay.
Welcome, Wendy.
Stay in relationship. Hey, Wendy.
You're muted, my friend.
It's a habit I have because my dogs.
Oh, well, I mean, we kind of put you on the spot, but I welcome you. Thanks for letting me promote you. We would love to hear if you would walk us through, what does launch look like for you guys? Like, how many times a week do you do it? Is it live? Is it Zoom? I'd love to hear the structure of that.
Me too, because I actually don't know this.
Yeah,
you see this coming?
You know this. You know what? When we started, when we kind of redid launch, I was very firm that they had to be in the office. And because of being a prior teacher, I think that just being in the office, you just gain so much knowledge. So we're in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we have a Zoom call on Wednesday doing call review. So all my groups, wherever they are in the launch stage, our on-call review together. So the new people are hearing people's calls in week 8, and all over the board.
So when you say call review, they're listening into their prospecting calls. Is that what I'm understanding?
So I'm pulling their calls.
Okay.
And then we just kind of go over them. How are they introducing themselves? How are they going through LP Mama? And are they, I'm really, really, really hard on rapport build. And so how much rapport build is going on in those calls?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that we're talking about this. I was on a thing yesterday with Robbie T from Eric Hatch's team, who's a master at, you know, getting appointments and prospecting. He's a place partner. And he was saying they don't even count it as a contact unless it's a 2+ minute call. I thought that
Yes.
was interesting. I was like,
Yes.
oh, do you guys, or you have a similar kind of a thing?
Yes. Yep.
That's what Deborah Beagle also said that from Gary Ashton's
Mhm.
team when I interviewed her at Inman. So this is new to me. Like that in my world, you know, back in the day, a contact was just simply a back and forth, and it could have been quick. So there's definitely an emerging trend that the market's showing us that we have to build rapport and we have to have these longer conversations in order to get an appointment. Interesting. Okay.
To that end, and it could be a little bit of a tangent, but you guys are so data driven, and you just said, Michael, that only 7 out of 10 won't make it and 3 will. Now that you're a few cycles in now and you've been doing this for a while, how's the correlation between the agents that actually make it and what you thought? Like, are you getting more insight to kind of predict success, or is it still sort of like, hey, this person made it, I can't believe it, and this person didn't make it, I would have lost a bet on that? Just very
I can
curious to
speak to
see
that.
with
Yeah.
all that you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, Wendy's just super scary, so people just leave. No, I'm kidding.
She's
Kidding.
clearly
I will
scary.
say today we did data on set to met for buyers.
Mhm.
And we had in the last 90 days 6 agents that were 70% and higher,
Wow.
and
That's great.
5 of them just out of launch.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing. And it's
awesome.
we all know it's not just speed to lead. We all know it's speed to appointment, right? The
Yes.
longer the delta between setting that appointment and the appointment itself, the less likelihood they'll show. 70% stellar,
Now
50%.
these were ISA appointments. So they were set appointments by our ISA team. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And credit where credit's due. We've got a stellar ISA director right now who's
Yeah.
been top grading that department for the last like almost 6 months now. But kind of what you're saying, Sarita, like even to this day, I can't, and Wendy's probably in a better position than I am, but like I can't predict who's going to make it and who's not. Like I meet the people in the office from week to week when they're new, and I try to make it a point to say hi whenever I can. In my head, I'm like, well, this person probably won't make it, or this person probably will make it. And then like a couple weeks later, I'll be like, hey, Wendy, what happened with this person? Oh yeah, no, they didn't make it. And they weren't going to. It's like, okay.
Right.
Okay. I really thought
Yep.
that person's gonna make it. And I'll say this, like,
So just plug them.
Yeah.
Plug them into
Yeah.
the systems and let the systems do the work.
let the system do the work, let them do the work. Like a lot of our top people are people that one person in leadership or another did not think would have made it, and probably wouldn't have made that hire if we had limited down the number of hires, which is a shame.
Okay.
Like for some of this, it's life-changing for these people.
I just
You
got
know?
a huge aha
Yeah.
about this. Michael Perna, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we had Spring Benson on last week, who has a very similar recruiting
Love Spring.
trajectory.
She's great.
Yeah. And then we have you on right now. Here's my aha. She has a hello week that's really similar to that. They give pawn leads, and if they don't join the team, they can just give them a referral fee and take them. But here's my aha. My aha is that you guys are 2 people that get into action more than almost anybody I know. I think that's both of your superpowers, is your execution skills. My aha is that you're doing this on the back end. It's a back end filtering, where a lot of people that I see in this world who get analysis paralysis and who are not growing their teams are trying to do this on the front end in the hiring process. And that is stopping them from this velocity, because what you're doing is you're just creating a system on the back end. You're effectively still in, like Wendy, you are part of the hiring process in launch. That's my aha.
Oh, yeah.
Like that is it. That's almost like that's like a massive aha for me right now, that the launch process can be part of your hiring process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, because during that 8 weeks, some people are just not making it.
In fact, let's go there. So let's say you brought in 15 1 month. Why don't you walk us through? So 15 come in gross. How many people at the end of 2 weeks would you say?
I would say we probably lose out of the 15, 1 to 2 people. Just
Okay, so
kind of either I am letting them go because they're not meeting the requirements, or they're stepping out.
okay, so we go from 15 to say 13 in 2 weeks. At the
Yeah.
end of day 30, what will we be down to?
Once they make it through boot camp, I mean, I may get rid of one person, but most, if they make it through boot camp the first 2 weeks, they stick it out the 8 weeks. So we're pretty good with that.
So if we go from 15 to 12 at the end of 30,
Yeah,
at the end of 8 weeks, what might we be down
we
to?
may be at 10.
10.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty darn good. That's like
A lot better than I thought.
66%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That is-
yeah,
that's high.
How many at the end of 6 months?
that I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be
Um,
interesting
but
to track for you guys.
I don't think we've lost a lot. at the
Okay,
end.
well, here's my real follow-up question to that then. Then let's get into some data. As far as if you've got 130 agents, right? And let's subtract 30 is brand new, just rolling. Let's take maybe 100, 80 or 100, whoever's kind of out of that launch period. What's the productivity either by cohort or blended average? Do you guys know that, how many homes are they selling a month?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
good to get though.
I'd be curious, like what it is, because that'll determine if they stay. If they're selling homes, they'll probably stay.
Well, the whole goal of our 8 weeks is to get them a pending in 45 days.
Okay, got it.
So that's where the 100 leads come in, and then the 333 ISA appointments. We're trying to get them a pending as soon as possible.
Yeah. got it.
Wendy, we have a question here in the chat. They want to know where you came from in terms of your background. Sounds like you were a school teacher, I think you
Oh.
mentioned, but like, what did you do?
I
prior?
was a school teacher, and I grew up in the restaurant business.
Okay.
Restaurant
See,
business.
And
I
it
answered
sounds
the
like
question.
yeah,
I answered the
Michael
question when you're from Canton, Michigan.
yeah, Michael was about to give your address out. But Wendy, it also
Right.
sounds like
And he
you
would.
don't. I know you would. You also don't get attached, right, to the outcome. Like basically, you guys are shining a light on your culture with no apologies to this prospecting-based culture. And you are trying to scare the crap out of people with like, this is not going to be fun and games. This is work and this is how we do it. And then you don't, it sounds like you don't get that emotional if they make it or not, because you'd rather know, you want to get them to success quickly, but tell me if I'm reading you right. Like, how do you feel when an agent doesn't?
I
make it? And I'm not
do
trying to
get attached to my people. I do.
You do.
When I see them excelling, it just is so exciting for me. But there's some that have left that I really thought were going to make it, and it was really hard to see them go.
How do you set that up in advance, Wendy? So like, when you do have to let people go, how does that work? What does that look like?
Like if I don't get rid of them during the first 8 weeks and then they move on, it's more they're leaving themselves because they're just not making it. And
What
it's
expectations do you set for them though up front?
whoops. Oh. Sorry.
So we're a new agent joining your team. How much am I going to make on the Perna team?
look, I right off the bat, I'm telling them, sorry, my dog is, come here, Tucker.
Tucker's going to be on the webinar too.
So right off the bat, I kind of go through a time frame of how long it's going to take them to get paid. And let it, be very upfront with it and how we're trying to get them paid even quicker.
Mm-hmm. Do you set up expectations for their activities so that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So as far as they have to be making the 500 calls a week, calls and texts. Tucker. And I check that every week. We do accountability where they have 2 business goals and a personal goal that they have to meet each week. They're also hooked up with someone else within the group, within the 8 week, or within the week 3 to week 8, so that they're all mixing together. Come here. And
Okay. No, that helps.
And then we do one-on-ones with their ISA appointments, making sure that they're following our process.
Well, we appreciate you. I feel bad. Your dog's barking and everything. You pulled you on without any warning at all.
Yeah.
We will let you go back to being an attendee and relaxing.
Thank you.
I know on behalf of everybody
Wendy.
listening and watching, that was super, super helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Mike.
Yeah. And then I know also Austin, when we're doing the recruiting portion of it, he'll put out there the $60,000 example. Hey guys, your first year in real estate, let's say you make 60,000. The first 6 months, you're going to make 15 of it. The second 6 months, you're going to make 45. That's how real estate works.
100%. My stats on my team, when my team was active, and it's a little slower. I'll grant we have a smaller unit count here in Seattle. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and a higher price, and plus I just don't think I was as good as like, and now I'm with Place and it's way faster, but our average agent closed their first deal at day 119 and they put it in contract somewhere in that 3rd month. And then they closed at the end of the 4th month. Then they closed 1 deal a month. So it was like, basically it was the same trajectory. It was closing month 4, 5, and 6. Something happened. And these are the ones we did data on every single agent that stayed with us over a year or more. Months 7 through 18, every single one of those agents netted over 6 figures. They went to 1.5 to 2 units a month by something about month 7. Every single time, didn't matter what time of year they started. That was our productivity rhythm. It was crazy. And we only measured people who were with us over a year, which means most people dropped out before that.
We're right there with you. And I look at that number every once in a while and like, I don't have anybody that has been with me for 24 months that doesn't make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter how much they even work at that point, just the skill has been built to that high of a level. Then they get that kind of gut feeling about when follow-up needs to happen and what to say and how to react and all those things that just all kind of clicks into place. So that's one thing that we tell people also is a lot of the times your income is just simply tied to how long you're with us.
Yeah.
Like if you can make it X amount of time, if you can make it to month 18, you're a $100,000 a year earner. And for a lot of these, this is life-changing. Like a lot of these folks coming out of the restaurant industry, coming out of other places where this is like life-altering money, which is also why we use the example of the 60,000, because we don't want to spook people either and be like 100,000, and then they think it's such a big number versus the 40,000 they made in the restaurant industry. Like think about that. Like for a lot of these folks in Metro Detroit, they're making 40,000 waiting tables or bartending. A 50% increase in what they're bringing home to their family is life-changing, is life-altering. And then answering a couple of the other questions I saw in there, we're not recruiting at a high level, larger producers, if that makes sense. I found, and then this is just my model. Maybe it's just me, but I found that a lot of the bad habits that they have are already set, and it is so hard to break them. So hard to break them. And I get a lot of this is how we did it at our other team, or this is how we did it at our other brokerage. I was like, okay, well, that's fine, but clearly something led you to be here that didn't work there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easier to create new habits than break the old ones and recreate them. absolutely.
really
Well,
has.
plus
I
you've
hear you.
stood up such a robust, the way you've really stood you really set yourself up for the new agent or the
Yeah.
newer agent, right? And the other thing I love about it, and I think Sarita is going to go into it though, is that like,
Yeah.
you know, you could get an agent that maybe chose the wrong brokerage. Maybe they sold 1 or 2 homes, and you with confidence, with data, can say, we can get you to, you know, 12 to 24 homes a year this year.
Mhm.
Like with
And-
confidence.
I mean,
right?
you just said it, right? 24 months and they're not making less than 100,000.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that kind of agent productivity and training. Like if you had to kind of categorize your agents, like sort of like as a bell curve, like how much do your top agents make in terms of units? How many, and how about the lower end and the middle? And what do they do in terms of what kind of training expectations and productivity standards do you have for them so that you can, wherever they are, you can move them up?
No, that's a great question. And before we hit that first, yes, my inside sales associates, my callers are in-house. I'm trying to answer 2 questions at the same time. Inside sales associates, they take in our sign calls and our Zillow calls and our easy kill calls, basically, because I need to guarantee a high answer rate for those leads. That's it. Like I need that answer rate to be at 99%. We have 9 of them, and they're setting around 300 appointments a month right now.
Are they domestic or offshore?
Good question. All domestic.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Yeah. Yep.
And how do they get paid?
Yeah.
Base plus commission? Base
Base
plus bonus?
plus bonus. Yeah. And in Michigan, you've got to have a real estate license similar to Texas to be able to set.
I
those
think
appointments.
most states now. I really
I think
do.
most states, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're paying
in Canada, too.
2,500 as a base, and then we're paying $200 per closing that they have that month. If they achieve 8 or more closings, which half of them usually do, we move the bonus up to 250
Oh, it's great.
for all of
I
them.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Got
a
it.
fixed cost of sale. I love that.
Yeah, it makes it a little more fixed than the commission does, which is good. And then 5% or the 10%. And then ongoing. So when somebody gets out of boot camp and then now they're on ISA appointments and they're only on the buyer appointments, they've got to close at least 6 sales or more to be able to qualify for the listing boot camp. And that's an entirely different boot camp, and that is hard. That is hardcore. That's not the LP Mama. It is learning the entire listing presentation, all 4 parts of it. Like, and when I say all 4 parts, I mean like when you get to the door and you say hello, how do you say hello? When you're walking around the house and doing your rapport build, that's got to be done a very specific way. The marketing presentation is a very specific presentation. The pricing presentation is a very specific presentation. The objection handlers is a very specific presentation. And it's all independent parts. And it takes somebody, generally speaking, between 30 and 45 days to be able to get through listing boot camp and be able to qualify for listings themselves and be able to qualify for listing appointments. So that set of agents, the current listing agents, every 2 weeks, they're on an hour-long training where they're learning scripting, where they're relearning scripting, dialoguing, all of that. Because one thing we found is if you take a listing boot camp and you finish it today, 6 months from today, there's a 20%, 30% information decay. So we keep on retreading that same ground, just pieces of it every 2 weeks, and that's a requirement. Also ongoing for our top producers, they're not required to, but they love to give back. And we found that it helps increase their production if we put them into a teaching capacity. So we have what's called Perna Team University, where our top producers can volunteer to teach a topic, something they love. If they're really leaning into open houses, great, teach open houses. If they're really leaning into like follow-up long-term, great, teach that. And it actually helps level them up. Our top producers right now are doing anywhere between, let's call it 30 and 70 deals a year. I've got one young kid that wants to break the curve. His name is Dustin. He wants to do 100 deals this year. And I got
Dustin.
Oh, Dustin, this kid. Right now, I believe he's 22 for 22 on listing appointments.
Jeez.
He's craziness. He will not leave the house without a signature. Like he'll be at a house for 5 hours. It doesn't matter.
I love that.
He'll do it too.
He's dusting the competition. I love it.
Yeah.
That's a good t-shirt. You need to get him.
Yeah.
I am going to give him that actually. That's good.
That's
I got to
good.
write that right after this. So 30 to 75 is kind of where we sit. 75 are the outliers though, like the absolute outliers. Most people find that somewhere between 30 and 40 deals, they're having a good time. They're making the money they want to make. And then at that point in time, the average sales prices start going up as well. So with our new people, they're 30, 40% below our average. They're in that 150 to 225 range. And then kind of after about month 15, they hit the average range. And then like with Wendy, as an example, when she was in heavy production, her average sales price for a while was 450, which is well above Metro Detroit's average.
Yeah.
So she
Yeah.
didn't need to do as many units because they were all higher dollar amounts at that point.
I'd love to see, I'd love to see, well, we'll have you back for sure, because we're getting some specific questions about, you know, how you train for listings. Actually, you've offered to download, I believe, your seller book for us.
Yep.
So for all of you here on that are watching this live, if you want that from Michael Perna, his playbook on that, it's powerplaybooks@place.com. Maybe someone can throw that into chat. And for those of you watching on replay, we'll throw something in show notes. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we'll put a link in show notes. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, we'll throw it in comments. We'll give you a link to download that. But my follow-up, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about the listing presentation itself, like my previous coaches include Mike Ferry and Brian Buffini and Craig Proctor. I mean, I'm not sure there's a coach out there that I have not hired at some point in time to try to get the information of, but there was one coach, two of them actually, that really changed the trajectory of my conversion rate on listings. And it was Tony DeSello and Diana Kokoska. And I remember having the conversation with Diana, and Tony had asked Diana, hey, I go on 500 listing appointments a year to get 250 listings. You go on 250 to get 247. Like, what does this look like? And Tony found that as soon as he hit the door, his goal was to be in and out of the house with the contract in 45 minutes or less. Diana's presentations were 3 hours plus. She really got to know people and really got to know their motivation and really just stayed there until she got the listing signed, because there was a high enough trust wall built, right? And trust wall built that it boxed out all the other agents in the greater Denver community, because that's where she was selling at the time. So I kind of took that to advisement and said, okay, my listing presentations, personally, they are 3 to 4 hours. And my expectation is for my agents that they go as long as they need to go to build the rapport. More than anything else, like the marketing and the listing, like you'll see the listing presentation and it's nice, but you'll probably look at it and say, this is not knocking my socks off. It's not anything that special. Like, it's got some cool colors and some cool design work. But at the end of the day, it's not about the listing presentation. It's not about the book. I want them to know the book well enough that they can see their reactions and not have to think about the scripting and the dialogue. So when they're like, if a tech person's leaning into the tech that we're using, great, get sidetracked, have that conversation. If they're glazing over, okay.
I am 100,000,000,000% on board with that. Like, that has been my entire career, and trying to rush through. I mean, it might just be because I come from a high price point, low unit, market, but I just want to applaud that, because it is all about rapport. And I think that I'm seeing the trend line and the tide turning, just like we were talking about earlier. We're in a new world. And in this world, we have got to establish trust and rapport as quickly as possible. That everyone's so sales skeptical.
Yeah.
They're being sold to and marketed to so much. So I completely agree with that. I think our time is coming to an end.
Already?
I do have one. Yeah, I know. I do have one last question though.
Let's go another hour. Let's just go another hour.
I know we could.
No,
we
I'm
could
kidding.
talk
I'm kidding.
forever.
It's like your listing presentation. Let's just keep building that.
Let's keep
rapport.
going.
I love it.
Just keep going.
I could keep going, as you know. I mean, we have talked for hours before, but
That's true.
do you think every team should grow as big as you're going to grow?
No.
Do you advise this for everybody?
No, I don't.
Okay, so for all the people listening and watching, what behavioral style or what market definition or what managerial experience or entrepreneurial experience, like how would you define if you are that person and you should grow a team this big?
Well, I was a bartender before this. So that's my experience level.
So there you go.
Yeah, so there you go.
All bartenders need big teams.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I think it just depends on what the person, what your own personal goal is, what your span of control is. Personally, that's a really hard question to answer. I have found it easier because with higher GCI and with more units and more volume and more ancillary services and that income coming in, I found it easier to get higher level talent. Like if we did not get this big, Wendy would not have a position as a launch coach. Austin would not have a position as a director of sales. Like And after over a period of time, if the growth isn't there and I can't hit the income levels that these guys need to fund their lives, they will leave. They will leave.
Yeah.
Right? Talent will
Yeah,
leave.
I agree.
Somebody else will come and write that check.
I
Right?
agree.
So my goal is to have an organization big enough that two things. One, nobody can overwrite the check that I can write. Simply put, that's it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then two, I've got a talent pool behind them that I'm developing that will either be a replacement if I need it. So God forbid something happened to Austin where he decides to make a different choice. I've got a level of leadership there with 6 or 7 people like Wendy that are being groomed for bigger opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I love the humility, right? Because you've said a couple times talking to Wendy, you're like, Wendy, I don't even know if I'm getting this right. Like, you're the expert. Like, you defer to your leaders and you give them complete power to manage their area, and they know it better than you because that's what they do day in and day out. I
Yeah.
want to ask you this, Michael. Like you said, I mean, you said a big team. If you can create a big world that no one needs to leave because they have a big world, that's amazing. But if you are just starting out, like, you're not at 100, 130, 200 agents, you're at 4, 5, thinking about 10, 12. What's the advice you have on just the things that you learn building a big business that everyone should do no matter what their team size is?
I think number one, you have to make a decision. Is this for me or is it not? Because there's no halfway. There is no halfway. It will be 18 months of pure walking through fire hell to get from one side to the other. Like if you're in that, let's call it 20 to 60 million range, or what some people call the messy middle, or in that builder mode. Like, and I remember that where there was a 2-year period where I did not go to weddings, I did not go to birthdays. I was working 7 days a week. I was at the office at 7 a.m. and I was working until 10:30 p.m., even with a closing coordinator, because I had to do the listings, and I had to be the trainer, and I was the recruiter. And like, it was 14-hour days, 5 days a week, 12-hour days, 2 days a week for almost 2 years. So I think one thing you got to get clear on is like, okay, can I get through it? I can, but this is what it's going to take to get through it. And then talk to your spouse or talk to, the people that are important to you in your life, and really have a good, I think, have a good conversation with those guys. Say, okay, guys, I'm going to shoot my shot, but what that means is 12, 18, 24 months. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be hard. And I'm going to need your emotional support to get through it. Like, seriously, like if I didn't have my family behind me, I don't know if I would have made it. Like, in all seriousness. And if
Really
I
good
didn't have the
advice.
understanding of them, and I didn't have like the push and the cheerleading and even through every setback, my parents and my sister and my family were behind me 100%. But if they're not, and if you don't warn them, then that's a product. I mean, that's a divorce right there, in my opinion. But like if you don't warn them that this is what the future is going to look like for at least this little bit right now, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, that's really smart.
And it's okay to not make it. It's okay to say,
Yeah.
hey, I love what I'm doing. I love taking 10 listings a month. So I'm just going to keep taking 10 listings a month. And in fact, like the guest that you guys are having on next week still is active in listings and has an extremely large team. And he's very successful on the listing side and the team side, which is awesome. For me, I wanted to get out the listing side because I wanted to be able to provide all of those opportunities to my people. And I wanted my time back because my sister lives in Abu Dhabi. I have a niece and a nephew now. I want to see them. I want to be able to take a couple of weeks and actually go and enjoy them now that I've done the 2 years of having no life.
Yeah. Wow, that was
That's
that
great
was a
advice.
great question, Sarita, and that was a great answer. That was great. Do you want to tell everyone who is going to be here next week, Sarita, and what you guys are going to talk about?
Yeah, next week. Yeah, next week we're going to have Jeff Glover, also from Michigan, and he's going to dig deep on his listing. He takes about 100 listings a year himself, and he's going to talk about what he's doing to get listings in today's market. So we're really excited to
And
have
guys,
him next week.
sign up for that one. The guy is a listing killer, and he has been a listing killer for almost 2 decades. Almost 2 decades. Like literally, like this guy was killing the game at like 22 years old, outperforming almost everybody in the market. I'm in the same market.
And he's a coach, trainer, and travels quite a bit and still is in the business. And that's what makes him a great coach and trainer, because he's talking
Yeah.
about what he's seeing day in and day out.
Now, and he's
But
a
with
Yeah.
that, Michael,
guys. Yeah.
Did you just hear what
what can
Michael
we
did,
ask
though?
Michael that we need to? Yeah.
He's so good. Michael Perna, you just completely edified probably your biggest competitor in your market. You're amazing. I just want to honor that.
Yeah.
Like, that was really cool that you said that. And you complimented, someone in your own market. You're
No,
awesome.
he's a good dude. He's a very astute business person. I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for what he built, and I'm going to be on that call. I encourage everybody on here to be
I
on
will
that.
not be, actually.
Well,
I will not be on that call.
That's Michael for you though. Like it's just guys, it's an abundance mindset. That's why even doing these webinars, right? People are asking me like, what are you doing this for? It's like this started during COVID where we were just on webinars trying to get through and figure this stuff out. And then we got busy and we stopped. And Via spearheaded these every Wednesday. And we were like, let's bring it back. There's no catch. We
For
just need
2.5
to have
years, we did 'em.
conversations. We just need to have conversations with the best of the best, and we continue to learn and grow from each other. And we're in this together, right? Like it isn't, oh, this is my market. I don't want to share my secrets. It's like there's enough houses to sell and enough people to help, to just share but it's all best known methods and how do we get there quicker? And that's by doing it together and sharing what we know. So I'm really honored to be part of this. And Michael, you're the best. Thank you so
You're the
much
best.
for sharing
I
all
know.
you did.
And thank you. And thank you for your friendships. And I don't say this enough, but you guys mean the world to me.
I know, I don't say it enough either. You guys mean the world to me too. This is all sappy. Okay. Love you guys. And
Thank you,
Sarita, you've got Jeff next week. I am going on a vacation I very much need and I'm very excited about. But in 2 weeks, I'm super excited. We're going to talk about how AI and ChatGPT can make you money in real estate. We have a great group of AI experts on that one. So thank you, everybody. We will see you next week.